Hi everyone, and welcome to today's lesson. Today's lesson is about NEBOSH fire risk assessment models, and within this session we will look at two distinct fire risk assessment models. The first fire risk assessment model is the model that is given by the UK government. So if you are familiar with fire risk assessments, you have probably seen this before. It's a 5-step model which consists of 1. Identifying the fire hazards, so sources of ignition and heat, fuel and oxygen. Identifying people at risk, so who are the people that work at the premises, who are the people that visit the premises, how are these people at risk should a fire occur. And 3. Evaluate the risks, remove and reduce them as much as possible. 4. Record your findings, prepare an emergency plan, and provide training. So any findings from your risk assessment should be available to all employees, and significant and considerable training should be given to ensure that people know what to do in the event of a fire, but also know how to behave responsibly in order not to increase the risk of fire or fires occurring at work. 5. Review and update the fire risk assessment regularly. So if there is a change to work procedures or the premises that may increase the risk of fire, then the fire risk assessment needs to be reviewed and updated, and any training that coincides with this needs to be given. And I've given the example of a hospital. If you're carrying out fire risk assessments at hospitals, then obviously they will be very different to a business premises. The people at risk will be dependent on other people to help them move or escape in the event of a fire. The fire hazards will be significantly different in terms of the levels of oxygen in place and medical gases, which could increase the risk of a fire and fire spread. So this is important to think about. We move on now to the second model of fire risk assessment, which provides a lot more detail on how the fire risk assessment process is carried out. Now this is available in PAS 79 2012, and it consists of 9 key steps. Number 1 is to obtain information about the premises, its use and its occupants. 2. Fire hazard identification. So again, looking at elements of the fire triangle: sources of ignition, sources of fuel, and sources of oxygen. 3. Taking into account steps 1 and 2, make an assessment, a subjective assessment on the likelihood of fire occurring. 4. Identify fire protection measures in place to protect people. Are there escape routes that are accessible? Are there fire safety doors? Are there fire extinguishers? Is there a sprinkler system in place? 5. Assess fire safety management information in place. So how well has fire safety management been recorded? Are there evidence of maintenance programs? Is there evidence of fire drills being carried out? Is there evidence of remedial work? All this should be taken into account. 6. Taking into account steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, make a judgment on the likely consequences to people and property should a fire occur. 7. This is where you'll get your overall risk rating from. So taking into account steps 3 and 6, multiply the likelihood of fire against the consequences of fire to get an overall risk rating. So is the risk rating tolerable? Is it intolerable? And how strong is that risk of fire occurring? 8. Formulate an action plan. What needs to be done to manage this risk? Is there remedial work that needs to be carried out to lower the risk from intolerable to tolerable? 9. Review the fire risk assessment periodically. So, are there changes to work practices? Are there changes to the premises? Are there changes to the people that occupy the building? Whenever there is a change, the fire risk assessment should be adjusted and reviewed. The fire risk assessment is a dynamic document and it can be changed at any time when necessary. If you've enjoyed this very brief presentation of 2 fire risk assessment models, go to the website to find more revision materials and downloadable audios. Thank you for watching.